Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about different floor plans in Kansas City homes. If you're a first-time buyer looking for homes, or if you're a buyer of homes in Kansas City, it's helpful to know the various floor plans that are available and that are common out here based on your lifestyle and what you might be interested in shopping for. And you can identify most of these homes from the curb pretty easily if you know what to look for. Before I get into this, if you like this content, please like the video and hit that subscribe button while you're down there and that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I post new content. We try to post videos weekly, although I'm in a little bit of a state of flux here moving, so I may be a little inconsistent over the next couple of weeks. But we try to post new content, and we hope our content is useful. And I would encourage any comments in the comment section about this subject if you have an experience or if you have a question about floor plans. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So I can group floor plans in Kansas City in basically three categories. We have your ranch category, your split level category, and we have your raised category. So there's variations of each one, and I'll get into these a little bit, and I'll show some photographs that might be helpful in how to identify what some of these floor plans are. And as basic as it may sound, I am continually alarmed at how many homes that are listed on the multiple listing service are mislabeled in one way, shape, or form by the listing agent. It's really not training that we go through as realtors typically. Maybe in some independent brokerages or individual offices, they may do some training on this subject, but it's actually amazing to me how many errors that I do see with floor plans really not matching up with what is labeled on the MLS. So I thought this might not only be useful for buyers, but maybe even useful for some agents just to get some clarity so we can be accurate at how we're depicting these homes. So let's talk about the first group. So the first group is ranches. Ranch homes are in very high demand for the obvious reason that there's something really nice, especially for a lot of buyers, to have all of their living space on one level. And particularly the older set of buyers, I mean, I'm in my 60s, I'm to the point now, we live in a split level, an atrium split, and sometimes it gets a little tiring to go up and down the stairs, half flight at a time, almost every time you're changing a room. And so there's a lot of appeal to just one level living, and that's what a ranch provides. A ranch, or sometimes called a straight ranch, is a home that, just like it says, it is one level living and also has an attached garage on the same level. This is kind of an important distinction. Ranches were very popular builds in the mid 1950s through about 1970 or so, sometimes a little bit into the 70s. And then they became a little less prominent, at least in our area, as builders tried to get bigger homes onto smaller footprints in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And they went for more of the split level type of an arrangement. And, sometimes younger families really like the split level because it adds a little bit of separation. But the traditional ranch is still one of the most sought after floor plans, especially with the, 55 and over crowd, so to speak. So that's a ranch. Now, in the ranch category, we also have a newer version called the reverse 1.5 story. The builders are building these as fast as they can sell them right now. They're popping up everywhere. And the difference between a ranch and a reverse story and a half is the reverse story and a half has a finished lower level. That is a walkout. And that's why it can carry that distinction of a reverse story and a half. If it doesn't have a walkout, well, then it's just a ranch with a finished basement. But if it has a walkout and you can walk out to a patio, that is a reverse story and a half. Oftentimes, those reverse story and a halves are 4 bedrooms with 2 bedrooms up, the master and a guest room, and then 2 bedrooms down, a full bath downstairs, and sometimes quite large rec room or family room or theater room or whatever you want to call it. The 3-bedroom versions typically will have your 2 bedrooms up and 1 down. Sometimes they'll have a big master suite on the main level and they'll have 2 bedrooms down. But those are very popular, high demand for reverse story and a half, and almost, I don't know, a good strong percentage of new builds right now are that plan. The third version of what I would call kind of in the ranch group would be the older homes called bungalows. And a home can carry the bungalow title if it's a 1-story home with a detached garage or no garage. It kind of denotes an older style home, typically built from the early 1900s through, maybe 1950 or so, before they started attaching garages on more predominantly. So a bungalow is a 1-story home without a garage, and again, typically an older model. So that's kind of the ranch group. Now we can move into the split level group, and there's all kinds of split levels. They're very popular in the Kansas City neighborhoods. A lot of split level homes, and they're in different categories. The first is what I'll call the split entry. The split entry is kind of your bread and butter entry level home, built from the late 1970s through even today. They build split entry homes that are new construction. They're usually a lot bigger than the ones they were building in the 70s and 80s, but split entry is a very economical floor plan, and it's discovered easily from the curb by the front door being halfway between the upper level and the garage lower level. So you can see the elevation of the door. It's not all the way up and it's not all the way at the ground level. So what it is that front door opens up and you're standing on the landing between going downstairs to the lower level or going upstairs to the main level. We used to joke a lot about, you go into a split entry home and you have to make a decision right away. Which direction are you going? So those are all over the place in all different sizes and a lot of different price ranges. A split entry is a very popular plan. Secondarily, we have the side-to-side split, and a couple of variations of a side-to-side split are like an atrium split. Though that's another version of a side-to-side split. Easily identified by the front door location being on the main level of where half of the house is the same level as the front door. So then you go to the other side of the floor plan, and you go up to usually a bedroom level, and then maybe down to a lower level that's underneath the bedrooms. In my area, I grew up in Indiana. We call those tri-levels. They're called tri-levels here sometimes, but usually they're called side-to-side splits. When you go into the house, half of the home is on all one level, usually the living room and the kitchen, and then you go up to a bedroom level or you go down to the garage level, but there are some variations there. And then there's a front to back split, and a version of that is called a California split. Little nuances there, but typically it's the back half of the house is a half of a flight up from the main level, and then there's a lower level that's half of a flight down. The kitchens are usually in the upper level of these homes, very prominent in the mid to late 90s, 2000s, where these front to back splits. Kind of looks like a story and a half would look, and I'll get into that here in a minute. But you've got the back half of the house in a split level, and you can tell from the side view of the elevation that it's got 2 stories in the back and 1 story in the front. So those are kind of your split levels. I live in an atrium split home here in Lee Summit, and the atrium split is a side-to-side split, but also has an atrium where there's a lot of daylight and windows, kind of tall windows that generally look out over the backyard. But other than that, it's just a typical side-to-side split type of a configuration. Lastly, I'm going to talk about the raised category. The raised category can be a little bit of a confusing point because especially with what's called a raised ranch. Now, a raised ranch is very much unlike a regular ranch in that the garage is tucked down low at the basement level. The basement can be finished or unfinished in these, but all of your living space, kitchen, bedrooms, living room, whatever, is up at the main level, sort of upstairs from the garage. So hence the name raised ranch. The big thing that I see that's frustrating a lot in the MLS is people will have raised ranch listings and they'll call them ranches, or they'll denote both. It's a raised ranch and it's a ranch. Not true. People that are looking for ranches, probably the last thing they want is a raised ranch. You're trying to avoid stairs in your life. You don't want to buy a raised ranch home, because if you like to park your car in the garage or at the base of the driveway, you're going to be hauling up a flight of stairs every time you bring home groceries, or anytime you come and go from your house. You're going to be going down a flight and up a flight. Some raised ranches are a little friendlier because they're on enough of a slope where if you park in the front of the house, you can maybe hit a sidewalk that doesn't have very much incline up to your main level. But still, if you want to use your garage or you want to go to your garage, you're going to be dealing with stairs. And if you're a buyer that wants to avoid stairs in your life, you don't want a raised ranch. So that would be the one. And then there's also a similar issue with what's called a raised story and a half. Garages are tucked at the basement level. You have a main level, and then you have half of a story above the main level as a second floor. And so those raised ones are a little bit more tricky, and you want to be aware of, basically you're buying a house with the garage down low, and that's kind of how you want to view that. And if that's okay in your lifestyle, then raised ranches can be had, and they're usually pretty economical as well, because they do turn a fair amount of people off. And so there's not quite as much demand for a raised ranch than there is for a lot of other types of homes in the market. So there's also your traditional 1.5 story, 2 story, even 3 story homes. Those are typically denoting full stories. If it's a 1.5 story, it's going to be usually a vaulted ceiling. You've got an open area with high ceilings, and then you've got kind of like a front to back split, but you have more of a half story typically in the back of the home. A lot of different variations on that. And then a 2 story should denote 2 full stories, where that upstairs is as much square footage or close to as much square footage as the downstairs is. And then of course 3 story homes are usually a finished basement that's a walkout, and then a 2 story home on top of that. So that's kind of the quick recap. Again, there's a lot of different variables here, but when we work with a buyer, one of the first things that we want to know is, hey, what type of house are you looking for? What is your lifestyle like? What's important to you in the way the house is laid out, in the floor plan, in the, where's the kitchen in relation to the bedrooms? Where's the master bedroom in relation to the other bedrooms? And different buyers all have different lifestyle goals and different goals for their home. So it's important to try to drill into what type of floor plan is going to be the best fit for what you're looking for, and then we can focus our energy on that. And with some buyers, of course, it's like, hey, I don't really care. I just want to make sure I'm in a good neighborhood and that my property value is going to be protected if I invest all this money in buying a home. And that's fair game as well. So if you're flexible on your floor plan, great. If you've got specific things that you want or that you want to avoid, we can hone in on that with the floor plan. And the most fun of all is when you're driving through neighborhoods, you can really say, oh, that's a split entry. That one right there, that's a front to back split. That one over there is a side to side split. And you can kind of help gauge, hey, what's the house look like on the outside? Do I like the way this house is designed? Do I like the way it is appealed? Because you want your house to have a nice look to it when you buy it. So anyway, that is it for today. I hope this has been helpful. Spring is right around the corner. We're enjoying a little bit of this warmer weather now finally. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the next video, where we'll take up another real estate topic that hopefully has some interest. So with that, I will check out for now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next video. All right, take care, everybody.